Ethan Wilson never considered himself someone who believed in curses. He wasn't superstitious, didn't fall for ghost stories, and had always laughed off anything that couldn't be explained by logic. But he did have one unusual obsession, an obsession with masks. Tribal masks, ceremonial masks, theater masks, Venetian masks, old wooden festival masks. If it had a face and a story behind it, Ethan collected it. His small apartment in Portland was practically a museum of unsettling expressions staring back at him from every wall. The strange part was that Ethan wasn't outgoing at all. He didn't even like people seeing his own face. But he liked wearing the faces of other things, faces that weren't his. He said it was for art. His friends said it was kind of creepy, but they never judged him too harshly. Everyone had weird hobbies, except the night he found that mask. Nothing about that hobby would ever feel harmless again. It happened in late October, on a day drenched in cold wind. Ethan had stayed late at the university's art studio to finish a project. When he left, it was already past 10 p.m., and the streets were half empty, fog drifting between the streetlights. He took a shortcut he had never taken before, a narrow alley squeezed between two tall buildings. He wasn't the type to explore new paths, but something pulled him into that alley, like invisible fingers tugging gently at his jacket. At the end of the alley was a small, dimly lit shop he swore he had never seen before. The wooden sign above the door looked handmade, the letters carved unevenly. The words bothered him immediately. Objects shouldn't remember anything. But he felt strangely drawn in. The door was slightly open, and a cold draft pushed outward, carrying with it the smell of old books, dust, and something faintly metallic, like dried blood. Ethan hesitated, but only for a second. His curiosity was stronger than his discomfort. Inside, the shop looked ancient. Shelves filled with relics, cracked porcelain dolls, rusted metal tools, old portraits with faces scratched out. Candle stubs melted into puddles, dust coating everything like a shroud. No music, no humming lights, no movement, just silence. Ethan walked deeper, his footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust on the floor. That's when the old man appeared behind the counter, without any sound, without any warning. Ethan didn't see him walk in. 1 second the counter was empty, the next the man was just there, like he'd materialized. His eyes were pale, almost entirely colorless, skin thin and stretched tightly over his bones, fragile but alert. Looking for something specific? The man asked, his voice dry and cracked. Ah! I collect masks, Ethan replied. The old man seemed to react, not with surprise, but with something closer to recognition. As if he'd been waiting for that answer, he bent down behind the counter. Ethan heard no drawers opening, no shifting of boxes, just silence. Then the man slowly rose, holding something wrapped in old, dark leather. When he unwrapped it, Ethan felt something cold slide down his spine. The mask was unlike anything he had ever seen. It wasn't colorful, decorative, or ceremonial. It looked like a human face frozen in the exact moment before a scream, eyes hollow and wide, mouth parted slightly as if gasping for air. The entire expression seemed alive, or at least it had been once. What kind of mask is this? Ethan whispered. The old man smiled faintly, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. It belonged to someone who did terrible things. He answered softly. Someone who made sure their face was never forgotten. Ethan swallowed hard. He shouldn't touch it. He knew he shouldn't, but his hand lifted on its own. He reached toward it, compelled by something he couldn't understand. How much? For you? The man said. You may have it for free. No, seriously, I can't just take it. The man's voice was strangely calm, disturbingly gentle. But once it's yours, it cannot be returned. Ethan didn't understand what he meant by that, but he accepted the mask anyway. Something in his chest felt tight, like instinct was screaming at him to leave it behind, but he took it. And as he left, he barely heard the old man whisper, "It chooses who it remembers." Ethan looked back once he reached the street. The shop windows were pitch black. The sign no longer swung. Everything looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he imagined the shopkeeper. Maybe the whole place was some weird fever dream, but the mask in his hands felt incredibly real. He hurried home, trying to shake off the strange unease crawling down his spine. When he got to his apartment, he placed the mask on his desk, right under the lamp. He examined it more closely. The facial features were carved, sculpted with unnerving precision. Humanish, but not completely human. The mouth was parted slightly, showing a hint of teeth. The cheekbones were sharp. The eye holes seemed deeper than they should have been. As he stared into them, he felt something staring back. He shook his head quickly. He needed sleep. He left the mask on the table and went to bed. At 3:12 a.m., he woke up, not because of a nightmare, not because of a noise, but because he felt watched. He turned his head toward the table. The mask wasn't there. It was sitting upright on the floor, facing his bed directly. Ethan froze. He stared at the mask for a full minute, his heart thudding loudly. Maybe it fell. Maybe it landed upright by pure chance. He approached slowly, sweat forming on his palms. The mask was positioned perfectly, its face angled upward. It wasn't just sitting there. It was waiting. He put it back on the table, but he placed a heavy sketchbook on top of it so it wouldn't slide off again, just to be safe. He went back to bed. It took him hours to fall asleep. The next night, he woke again around 3 a.m., same cold feeling, same heavy pressure in his chest. He turned on the lamp. The sketchbook was still on the table, but the mask wasn't under it. The mask was now leaning against the side of his bed frame. Its hollow eyes pointed up at him like it was studying him. Ethan scrambled backward, nearly falling off the other side of the bed. He grabbed the mask with shaking hands and shoved it into his closet, slamming the door shut. For the rest of the night, he couldn't sleep. He kept glancing at the closet door, imagining it slowly opening on its own. The next morning, he convinced himself he had overreacted. He was stressed, sleep-deprived, hallucinating, maybe. People hallucinated things when they were exhausted, right? He tried to ignore the whispers at night, soft, almost inaudible whispers coming from the closet. At first, he thought it was just the wind, but there was no wind inside a closed closet. Some nights, he heard breathing, slow, steady, wet-sounding breaths through a hollow space. Sometimes he felt like someone was watching him from just a few feet away. After 3 nights of this, he snapped. He opened the closet, grabbed the mask, and shoved it into a locked wooden box. He even wrapped it in a thick blanket first. The whispers didn't stop. They grew clearer, not words, but something like a voice trying to form them. A rasp, a forced breath, a subtle moan of frustration. Ethan started losing sleep rapidly. He showed up to class looking pale, unfocused. His hands shook. His eyes had deep bags under them. His friends asked if he was okay. He lied. At night, he thought he saw shadows move at the edges of his vision. He felt cold fingers brush against his arms in the dark. He felt someone standing behind him while he washed his face. Every time he looked into the mirror, he expected to see something behind him. One night, he had a dream. A horrifyingly vivid dream. He dreamed he was standing in the hallway outside his bedroom. The box with the mask was sitting on the floor. It shook violently, like something inside was trying to break out. Then it stopped. The box slowly opened by itself. The blanket slipped away. The mask floated upward, no strings, no hands holding it, hovered in the air, turning slowly to face him. But the mask wasn't expressionless anymore. It was smiling. A wide, stretched smile full of sharp, human-like teeth. The mask rushed toward him, slamming onto his face. He woke up, screaming, drenched in sweat. He stumbled to the wooden box. It was open. The blanket was on the floor. Before he could process what was happening, he heard a sound, a faint, dragging shuffle coming from behind him. Ethan turned slowly. The mask was lying in the middle of the floor, facing him. He couldn't breathe. He backed away slowly. Then he made the worst mistake of his life. He touched it. The mask felt warm, warm like skin, warm like it had just been worn by someone alive. He dropped it instinctively and staggered back. In that moment, he saw something just for a second. A human eye, deep within the hollow of the mask, looking at him, blinking. He screamed and turned away. When he looked back, the hollow was empty again. But he knew he hadn't imagined it. That night, the whispers turned into a voice inside his head, not outside, not in the room, inside, and it spoke only one word. Where me? Ethan clutched his head, shaking violently. He felt the urge, an overwhelming instinctual urge, to pick up the mask and put it on. Every cell in his body seemed to scream for it. Every thought was drowned in that one command. "Wear me." He forced himself to look away, crawling into his bathroom, slamming the door shut. He sat there for hours, trembling uncontrollably until the voice quieted. But halfway through the night, as he tried to stay awake, his eyes grew heavy. Too heavy. He fell asleep in the bathroom. When he woke up, the mask was sitting at his feet. He hadn't let it in. No one else lived with him. He had locked the door, yet the mask was here, waiting, watching. He couldn't take it anymore. He screamed as he kicked the mask across the bathroom. It hit the wall with a sickening thud, and for a split second, Ethan heard something impossible. A whisper of pain, a tiny gasp. As if the mask felt the impact, Ethan collapsed into trembling silence. He knew, deep down, that the mask was not just alive, it was hungry, and it wanted him next. Ethan didn't sleep for the next 2 days. He tried. God knows he tried. But every time his eyelids grew heavy, he felt the mask calling to him again. Not with whispers this time, not with breathing, but with something worse. Curiosity. An emotion that didn't feel like his. He found himself staring at the mask longer and longer, trying to understand it. Trying to decode the expression frozen on its face. Trying to feel what it was feeling. He hated it, but he also wanted to know more. That scared him more than anything else. He put the mask inside a thick plastic storage container, locked it, wrapped it in duct tape, and shoved it into the darkest corner of his closet. Then he sat outside the closet door, back against the wall, waiting, listening. Hours passed. His eyes burned. His mind fogged. He told himself he wouldn't fall asleep. He failed. Sometime in the early morning, sleep dragged him into darkness, and the moment it did, the dream returned. He was standing barefoot in an endless field of darkness. There was no sky, no ground he could see, yet he felt something beneath him, a texture like cold skin stretching in every direction. In the distance, a faint shape floated toward him, slowly drifting through the void like a puppet suspended on unseen strings. It was the mask. But this time, it wasn't empty. Eyes stared out from behind the hollow spaces, human eyes. Veins crawling across the whites. The pupils shaking violently like they were trying to escape the sockets. Then a shape formed behind the mask. Shoulders. A torso, limbs. A body made of smoke or shadow or something writhing and crawling. The body leaned toward him, and a voice, so clear, so close, as if speaking inside his skull, whispered, "I wore many faces before yours." Ethan jolted awake with a scream. He ran to the closet and ripped it open. The container was cracked open from the inside. The duct tape was peeled apart. The lock was snapped clean in half, and the mask was sitting on his bed, as if waiting for him to wake up. Ethan backed toward the door, shaking violently. The mask hadn't moved while he watched it. Of course it didn't. It never moved while he was looking. It waited for the dark. It waited for the silence. It waited for his fear. His phone buzzed suddenly, startling him so badly that he almost collapsed. It was his best friend, Tyler. "Dude, you sound terrible," Tyler said immediately. "You look like you haven't slept in a week. What's going on?" Ethan hesitated. He didn't want to sound insane, but he also couldn't keep this to himself anymore. "Tyler, I need you to come over," Ethan whispered. "Please." I'm not okay." Tyler arrived 20 minutes later. He looked at Ethan with wide eyes the moment he opened the door. "Bro, you look like death." "What's?" Then Tyler froze. He saw the mask sitting on the bed. "What the hell is that?" Tyler asked, stepping closer. "It's haunted," Ethan whispered. "It moves. It talks. Tyler laughed. Not a mocking laugh, more of a confused one. "Come on, man. It's just a creepy mask." He picked it up before Ethan could stop him. "Tyler, N.O." The moment Tyler touched it, the room went cold. Not a normal chill. A bone-deep, unnatural cold that seemed to rip the warmth straight from the air. Tyler's smile faded. He looked down at the mask in his hands. His face went pale. "Dude," he whispered softly, "is it warm?" Ethan nodded helplessly. Tyler placed the mask back on the bed quickly. "Okay, I'm not saying I believe in ghosts, but holy crap, that wasn't normal." As they stared at it, the apartment felt eerily silent. No cars outside, no footsteps above. Not even the hum of the fridge. It was like the whole world held its breath. Tyler swallowed hard. "We need to get rid of this thing." "Yes," Ethan whispered. "Please. I can't sleep. I can't think. I can't." The closet door slammed shut by itself. Both men jumped violently. Then, footsteps, slow, deliberate, heavy. Coming from inside the closet, Tyler grabbed Ethan by the arm. "Dude, get out. Now." They ran out of the apartment and down the stairs. Ethan didn't grab his keys, his wallet, his shoes, nothing. He just ran. Outside, the cold autumn air hit him like a shock. Tyler drove him to his place, telling him to stay the night. But Ethan didn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the mask. And slowly, he realized something horrifying. He could feel the mask thinking, not just calling, not just whispering, thinking. And every thought felt closer to his own mind, like the mask was crawling deeper inside him, turning his thoughts into its thoughts, blending, merging. By morning, Ethan could barely distinguish between his own voice and the one whispering to him. Tyler came into the guest room holding coffee. "Okay, I've been thinking, we're gonna destroy it. Hammer, fire, I don't care. Whatever it takes." Ethan wanted to agree. He tried to say yes, but instead something else came out of his mouth. "It won't let you." He didn't mean to say it. His lips moved on their own. His voice sounded wrong, too calm, too certain. Tyler took a step back. "Ethan, you okay, man?" Ethan grabbed his head. Pain exploded behind his eyes. His vision blurred. His pulse hammered in his skull. He felt something pushing through him, behind him, inside him, through him. His mouth moved again. "It owns him." Tyler's eyes widened in horror. "Owns WHO." Before Ethan could answer, or the thing speaking through him could answer, there was a sound at the front door. A single knock. Then another. Then another. Slow, steady, rhythmic. Ethan's breathing stopped. Tyler whispered, "Stay here," and approached the door cautiously. The knocking continued. When Tyler finally opened the door, he looked around the hallway. Nobody. Just an empty apartment corridor. Except a package sat on the floor. Small. Wrapped in old dark leather, Tyler picked it up slowly and carried it into the living room. "Ethan, did you order something?" Ethan didn't respond. He was staring at the box with wide, shaking eyes. The leather. The stitching. The exact wrapping. Tyler set the package on the table and unwrapped it. His face drained of color. "What the? How did it get here?" The mask was inside, perfectly still, perfectly clean, perfectly centered. Ethan's legs gave out. He collapsed to the floor, shaking violently. The whisper in his head wasn't a whisper anymore. It was a voice. It was laughter. A deep, rattling laughter that made his ears ring. He screamed, clawed at his own skin, begged for it to stop. Tyler grabbed Ethan by the shoulders. "Ethan, listen to me. We're getting rid of it right now." He grabbed the mask, stormed down the hallway, and threw it into the apartment's trash chute. They heard it fall, until it hit the bottom with a distant metallic clang. Tyler exhaled. Okay, it's gone." But Ethan didn't look relieved. He looked terrified. "Tyler," he whispered, "it's not gone. It won't stay gone. Bro, we threw it down 10 floors. Ethan shook his head violently. "You don't understand. It followed me home without me touching it. It cracked open a locked box. It got inside your apartment without breaking in. It's not bound by walls, or distance, or gravity." Tyler stared at him. "So what do we do?" Ethan swallowed hard. His voice broke when he said, "It wants to be worn." Tyler took a step back, horror slowly sinking in. "And if you don't wear it?" he asked. Ethan began to cry. "It's not asking anymore. The lights in the apartment flickered. Once. Twice. Then all at once they went out. Tyler cursed under his breath and pulled out his phone. But before he could turn on the flashlight, the darkness spoke. Not with a whisper, not with a breath, but with a voice Ethan recognized instantly. His own voice, twisting, distorted, warped. Twisting, distorted, warped. You brought me home. Tyler grabbed Ethan. Come on, we're leaving. But Ethan couldn't move. His legs wouldn't respond. Something was holding him in place, invisible hands, cold, strong. Tyler tugged harder, but Ethan didn't budge. It felt like roots had grown out of his feet and dug into the floor. Then a faint glow appeared behind them. Not a warm glow, not a comforting one, a pale, sickly light. The light grew brighter and brighter, and in the center of the glow, floating silently in midair, was the mask. But now it wasn't empty. A face stared from behind it. A face rotted and torn, stretched unnaturally across a skull-like structure. Teeth grinning through split skin. Eyes twitching with violent hunger. Nostrils flaring like it was inhaling the room. Tyler screamed. Ethan didn't. He was frozen. The voice inside his head whispered, "It fits you." The mask rushed forward like a bullet. Tyler shoved Ethan aside and tried to grab it, but he couldn't stop it. It slammed against Ethan's face, hard. He fell backwards, convulsing, flashing violently as the mask melted against his skin like wet clay. The edges fused into him. His screams were muffled, then became gurgled, then stopped completely. Tyler dropped to his knees. "Oh God! Oh God! Ethan! Ethan!" But Ethan wasn't responding. His body twitched, limbs jerking uncontrollably. Then slowly, painfully slowly, Ethan stood up. His head lifted. The mask now was his face. There was no seam, no separation, no way to tell where skin ended and mask began. Tyler backed away. "Ethan, please, please don't." The figure tilted its head. When it spoke, the voice was not Ethan's. Not human. Not alive. He remembers now. Tyler ran, but he didn't make it far. The last thing he heard was Ethan's voice calling his name. Except it wasn't Ethan anymore. It was the mask. The next morning, neighbors complained about screaming and loud footsteps. Police entered the apartment. They found Tyler's body near the hallway, and Ethan was never found. But witnesses reported seeing a pale-faced figure wandering the streets late at night, a face too still, too hollow, too stretched. A face frozen in the moment before a scream. A mask that never came off, and anyone who looked at it too long was never seen again. If you enjoy dark stories like this, make sure you subscribe to Dark Vision, where some faces should never be remembered.